Twice. Once on my birthday when I was grappling. I'd only been diagnosed for a month and a bit. My mom was in a mental hospital. My best friend had just been diagnosed with pneumocystis, and my boyfriend had just been diagnosed with viral meningitis, both of which were AIDS-related. And there was a point at which I was walking through the dunes, and I've told the story in Love Undetectable, where it suddenly occurred to me, not that God did not exist, which I'm sorry to let all my atheist readers know, something they know already, which is that I wish in some ways, well, I don't really, but I can't not believe. It's not something that I have chosen to do. I know it's a very hard thing for people to accept, but it's as best an explanation as I can give in it. But in that 15 minutes on the walk to the beach on my own, on my birthday, I actually literally fell to my knees thinking about my mom and my boyfriend and my best friend, and to some extent me. Although it's funny, when it hits you, you think of others, at least some of us do. And just felt it was terribly unjust. I mean, I had a Job moment, really, in which I thought, not that God did not exist, but I thought that God might be evil. That in fact, the force behind the universe was a vicious and ugly and evil thing that was tormenting people who did not deserve it. And so I confronted the theodicy argument pretty close up. All I can say is that after 15 minutes it lifted. And I felt buoyed by a knowledge, some kind of internal knowledge that was not true. That God is not evil. That God is good. But just going through that process made me realize that the belief that God is good can become a terribly tired and exhausted trope that you think you believe, but you've not really grappled with until you've faced the possibility that God might be bad. The second was another. It's funny, I go to beaches. I was in Miami Beach, and the sort of the latest news of the Boston sex abuse scandal, the worst stuff. And I can't remember the precise precipitant for this. It might have been Cardinal Law being given a cushy job in the Vatican to protect him from the law or from any accountability whatsoever. But I think there was a moment at which I just felt the institution of the Catholic Church was rotten from the top down. And that for it to have acquiesced in, enabled, and actually fomented, because of its negligence and indifference, the rape of thousands of children, and no one in real authority was going to take any responsibility for it. And in fact, they were going to blame homosexuals, the 60s, whatever they could, for their own grotesque lack of response. Yeah, I think there was a night when I couldn't sleep because it was just full of my head. My head was full of it, in which I really, really just wondered whether this goddamn institution should have any moral standing in my life. And unlike the first experience, nothing came in to tell me, don't worry, it's going to be all right. So those two moments, in a way, entirely define my religious relationship in life. And I just happen to live in an era in which it's not pretty or easy to be in the spot that I find myself.